All right, everybody. Welcome back to the show. You know, it's your favorite time of the day, SANDCAST time.
SANDCAST time.
With your boys, Travis and Try. Today we have a second-time guest, Melissa Humana-Paredes.
Woo!
I always got to roll those R's when
That's
I say
right.
your name, you know.
I
Got to represent. Thanks for coming back on.
Thanks for having me.
2 times. That's not many people have been on twice.
I'm honored.
Yeah, it's like you and Trevor.
Really?
And Trevor's got the inside track.
Maybe a few more people.
Yeah.
Doherty was on twice, but, you know.
Oh my god, I'm honored.
You're one of the few.
When you're the world champ, you know, you get to come on twice.
You get some special privileges.
Yep.
Thanks.
Special
I was
privileges.
actually I was laughing when I was on my way to pick you up. I was like, I'm on my way to pick up arguably the best volleyball player in the world to go on podcasts. After a day of playing beach volleyball, I was like, I'm never complaining about life ever again.
And on the way, you're like, what a diva. She asked me to pick her up.
All 5 total minutes from my apartment.
Yeah. I do appreciate the ride, though. Thank you.
Absolutely. I appreciate the company for the ride.
Oh.
There we
Can't
go.
be making this trek by myself.
Yeah,
I live
that's
so
true.
far away.
Well, you guys are both down. Are you beach side of PCH?
No.
You're in the
We're
South Bay?
both
Okay, we're all.
on the other side of it, so it's
Right.
perfect.
East of Sepulveda.
How long are you in town for? You've been here for a while.
I've been here for 2 months,
2 months
now, and I'm honestly here until probably September.
Oh, yeah.
With quick trips going back home here and there, and then obviously once season starts, we're going to be all over the world. But yeah, this is my home base. This is my training base until season's done, and that'll go for quite a while, I think.
Yeah.
So when you get to go home, it's basically just visit family, and
Yeah.
you're not really going home to train much, are you?
I'll still do stuff in the gym and maybe get a couple individual sessions in, but no, when I go home, it's usually for an extended weekend, so 3-4 days. After Cancun, I'll go home for a full week, which I'm stoked for.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, China
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Singapore.
Thanks,
One
thanks.
good thing that came out of it is we got a nice little break.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know it's crazy what's happening, but yeah, I'll go home and I'll still be active always. But yeah, just mostly to spend time with family and just be back there.
Have
Probably.
you done? Go ahead, Trey.
No, I was just going to say, it's probably freezing at that time, right?
You know what?
So
It's
there's not
actually
much
been
you
a
can
really
do.
warm and mild winter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
But
that what
it's
you
still-
prefer, or do you want a good home cold snowy winter?
I prefer the snow and the cold
Okay.
for Christmas. And then after
Okay.
Christmas, I'm over it. And I'm
Yeah.
ready for
Everybody just wants a white Christmas.
Yeah, you just
It's
want the
all
white
right,
Christmas.
Come on back.
Exactly. Exactly. And then I'm over it, and then I move to California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been out here for this long before, or is this
Last year I came out here about early February.
okay?
Maybe late January, so about the same time.
Okay.
I think last year got pushed because Fort Lauderdale got canceled.
Okay.
So, which is a running theme in our sport, you guys. What is going
I
on with
know.
all these cancellations?
Especially the U.S. Why is the U.S. not hosting any events?
Yeah.
It's kind of brutal.
It would be
Yeah.
nice,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but apparently it's not easy to put on a beach volleyball tournament.
Apparently.
Yeah, that's true. Every
No
time,
one's-
if I think about it like that, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be putting on an
Yeah.
event. That
Yeah.
seems pretty difficult.
Yeah.
Super cool to see. I don't know. Are you on? Do you get the AVP emails too? I guess you
Yeah.
would. That Manhattan's a
I
$400,000 tournament now.
know.
That's huge.
That's
Love it.
wild.
That's
Heck yeah.
Is that bigger than a major?
Yeah, I think so.
Or a
Yeah,
major?
I
A
guess
major
so.
series? I feel like I should know the answer to that.
I don't know what the prize money is
For
for
the
those.
5
but
stars? Yeah, I forget.
I think it is.
Maybe, yeah.
That's
think
a
it is.
colossal event.
No, that's massive.
Holy cow.
I'm curious to know what the decision process behind that was and why they picked just the one tournament to kind of top up.
Yeah, I wonder if they're just trying to make an iconic
Yeah.
event.
It already is,
Yeah.
but now it's
But
more
they're
so.
just
Right.
building it up even more.
Manhattan Beach has always been the Wimbledon of beach volleyball.
Right. I think it was the reason Manhattan's so great there's a lot of history behind the event,
Yeah.
first of all, but you get your name on a pier.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us live here, so it's people are going to be walking up and down that
Yeah.
pier for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's you're also getting a big old payday, and that makes it twice as prestigious, I
That's
think.
the granddaddy for sure. I
Yeah.
know. It didn't really hit me that we were immortalized on the pier until just last weekend. I took a stroll down the pier and I was with my boyfriend who is from Canada. He was here for a rugby tournament actually, and some of his teammates came down and I showed them the pier and stuff. And as we were walking along, I was like, oh my gosh, my name is going to be here. And I was showing them all the different players and all the different names that were on the pier. And they like couldn't believe that I too would kind of join this like historic group and like be immortalized on the pier. It's just such a surreal, crazy feeling.
Yeah.
I wonder, what is like a more surreal, crazy feeling there? Because you hold currently like two of the most prestigious titles in beach volleyball. Like, you're a world champ and you're a Manhattan Beach Open champ. In the same, I wonder how many times that's been done in the same year. You win Manhattan and world champs. Like, that's tough to do.
It was a really crazy summer. And they were pretty close to each other. I mean, we had a swing of maybe 7 tournaments back to back, and Manhattan Beach and world champs were kind of in the same couple months, and it was a pretty big roller coaster.
I would say a roller coaster where you're just
just going up. Yeah, it was.
When's this drop gonna happen? Hopefully never.
Yeah. Let's keep it going.
Yeah.
But I mean, like throughout those weeks, there were quite a few drops actually that maybe like people didn't really catch on to or see or really feel, but like Sarah and I did, and I think that's what happens when you kind of accomplish something of that grandeur, and when you as an athlete accomplish something that you work so hard for, and it's like the pinnacle of an athlete's life is to be a world champ and to hold these titles and stuff, and as like fulfilling and emotional as it is, there's also like there is some truth to kind of getting like that gold medal like hangover after that, and it's like, well, what now? There literally is only down from here.
Yeah. I've actually, I was listening to a podcast, I want to say it was like Tony Robbins' podcast maybe, with Shaun White and Michael Phelps, and that was the topic, was like they went into depressions after each Olympics, like on point, because there's so much buildup, you're so focused on this one thing, and there's like no distractions, and then you get there, achieve it, and the whole world's staring at you and looking at you, and then like a few weeks later you're like, what do I do with myself? I don't know what to do, and nothing is as great as my last, that whatever, however long it lasted, that high.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I have to figure out my purpose.
I have to win 8 gold medals now?
Exactly.
Yeah. Like not quite on the same level as them, but like, no, it's insane. It really is true, and I think it really puts it into perspective, the value of like actually enjoying the process, as cliche as it is, and how like we always try and say that to each other, but like when you reach that destination, after that it's like, well, now what? Like you're still on this journey. It doesn't end there. Like you can't wait for that moment to be happy and to feel fulfilled and accomplished, because if you do, then you're missing everything and all the good things that lead up to that, and like there's more to life, I think, than just waiting for that moment. I think accomplishing that heightens life, but life is like all those moments in between that, and so I think that's what, when you're so in it, and when you're just like you're overwhelmed by just like being so in the moment, that you kind of lose that perspective, and it doesn't occur to you until it happens, and you're like, wow, that was incredible, but like this whole journey is incredible, and you can't just wait for that one moment to feel it.
Because it is just one moment. You think about how many millions of moments like lead up to that.
You can't hang on to it any longer than it lasts.
Right, because you have a tournament the next week.
I'm in it right now. I gotta enjoy this so much. What do I do? I remember when I won my first event, I was like, I won an FIVB. Like, what are we gonna do? This is gonna be a crazy night, and it just like wasn't a crazy night. Like, it was a Sunday night. Most of the teams had gone home. And I was like cruising with Hayden, and he was like, well, I'm just gonna go to sleep. And like down at the bar downstairs, like, Rosie, wanna hang out? Can I buy you a drink? All right, I guess I'm going to sleep now. I thought it was gonna be this crazy thing.
I know, it's crazy.
I mean,
I know, after we won Worlds too, we went, like there were like these parties and stuff, and our post-World celebration was like pretty much the same as it usually always is after a tournament. We'll always go for pizza and beer, and we just had like a lot more to celebrate that night, but we still went. We went to Vapiano. That was like where we went.
Oh, you went
after
back
our
You were probably eating there all week too.
All week long.
Everyone was eating there.
All week long. Volleyball Canada said that they were going to cover our pizzas, so We were like
Nice.
It's
really
the least they could do.
Yeah.
They're covering
Come on.
expensive meals.
Yeah.
But don't get any extra cheese.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it was just a really beautiful, normal moment
Right, yeah.
with like our team. And then the next day we were off to Stad, and we just kind of honestly had to forget about Worlds, which was one of the hardest things
Yeah.
I've ever had to do. And like
Yeah.
as a team, we struggled with that honestly because it's so hard to go from such a high and literally have to forget about that moment when it's something that you dream of for so long. Stad stole our thunder. It was like, and we came up and we were disappointed with the result. We finished fifth, which is
right? Which is
I-
a major.
it's
Yeah,
a-
but come on, you just won world champs.
it's a respectable result
Yeah.
for sure, but obviously in our eyes it was a disappointment. And I think after the World Championships, it's a lose-lose. Like
Right.
you have no other option but to win.
Yeah,
totally.
And that was like the first week of 6 weeks on the road, and we had like 5 back-to-back tournaments. And
Plus, World Champs is 10-day tournament.
Yeah,
so
it's a long
like
one.
a grind.
It's a
Pace
long
of those
one.
is so slow.
It's
Yeah.
slow, but like your mind can't check out.
Yeah.
So you're mentally like in it for 10 days.
Totally. It's so draining.
Yeah.
It's so draining. But we ended up finishing those like 6 weeks on the road with some really great results. We came out with 3 golds.
You won Vienna,
the
right?
World Champs Vienna, and then we went to the 3-star in Edmonton, and then 2 fifths. And so I think we were really proud of how we were able to kind of just try and stay composed through all that, because it's really hard, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if you look at the Russians, too, in Stad, they didn't make it out of their pool. Like, it's so hard to kind of bounce back from that.
I didn't make it out of pool. I was on
Oh,
that
yeah.
high because I made the semifinals.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, we had some rocking games against Norway and Russia.
Yes.
And then I had a swing to beat Canada, Ben and Grant, and I got blocked or something, and we ended up losing and not even making it out of pool. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
this
totally. You
sucks.
had like an Unreal Worlds, and then
Yeah.
having to kind of like bounce back from
Yeah.
that, and
Yeah.
it's just a wave of emotions.
This says a lot though that you guys were able to like calm the mind and like just stay on that grind. You think it has? I would think that it is really helpful to have Sarah, because she's got that mindset, that killer instinct. But like,
Yeah.
we won. All right, get over it. Let's get back to work. And from an outside, that's kind of what it seems like.
Yeah. Yes and no. I think she also had a hard time with it too. And
Right, yeah.
I think it was really Scott who was kind of like, okay, you girls have to just forget about it. Like, he was kind of that source of like grounding and just trying to like calm us, because we were on a high. Like, and
Totally.
I mean, I don't know if you saw Sarah's reaction after we won. Like, it meant so much.
Yeah.
And like, it really, really, I think affected her in such a beautiful way. Like, she had an amazing tournament. And so for her as well to kind of bounce back, even though she is definitely the more experienced, she's felt so many highs in her indoor career and just like all along her beach volleyball career as well. I think even it was challenging for her too.
For sure, yeah.
And we were both kind of like looking to each other for like some sort of, how are we supposed to feel right now? Like, we had no idea.
Yeah.
And so it was definitely Scott that was trying to like
Okay.
guide us in that way. But it was a crazy week for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you'd won tournaments before.
Yeah.
How is it different? Obviously, to the outside, like, it's world champs, but as a player, how is it different from winning, say, a major or like, the Commonwealth Games or, any of your other number of like really big wins?
Yeah. I think that is so special in the same way that we were kind of talking about Manhattan Beach and how it's immortalized. Like, it's a title for life. Like, we will always be world champions, which is like, I just still get chills from hearing that. Like, it's pretty crazy. And I think what we saw from accomplishing that was so much bigger than just Sarah and I and like our own titles. We saw how it affected Canada and how they really took notice, and beach volleyball started to grow, and we saw how that performance affected the growing generation in Canada for beach volleyball, which is ultimately what we want to do. We want to inspire the next generation.
Yeah.
And the amount of messages we got from parents and from young girls who were like, I want to start playing beach volleyball because of this.
That's so
who had
cool.
never even been in the sport and now want to take it up.
Yeah.
Like, that just makes it so much more valuable.
Totally.
And I forget what your question was. But
Just
how does it
how it's
differ?
different.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of how it differs, because it was on a bigger scale. And I think more people were able to take notice and appreciate the value of it. Because I think our normal tour doesn't get the same attention, you know,
Yeah.
and which is something that we've been working on for
Yeah.
years. But this is something that people really gravitated towards, and obviously, on another note, it's really important because it's one of the few tournaments that mimics what the Olympics would be like,
Right.
Yeah.
in terms of structure and on a small scale, like the media attention and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I think that was really important for us too. But it was a pretty incredible moment.
Yeah.
Sorry. I remember too. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we first came out on tour, it was around the same time. Canada didn't have any good or top women's teams, right? So you guys have, along with Brandy and Heather, you guys have really built this from the ground up, and now you can kind of, take it where you want.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I was talking to someone just yesterday about that, and how the evolution of beach volleyball in Canada has been so transformative. Like, from where we started when I first started the game when I was like 12 years old to where we are now has been insane. And we still have so much more that we need to kind of like work on and perfect as like a national team as well. And I don't know if there will ever be this perfect national team, honestly. I think every federation has issues, but we really did kind of come from a super grassroots, like very unstructured, very informal, somewhat unprofessional, and the athletes kind of really drove that movement. And we had to grind, and we had very little support and resources to kind of like claw our way up and up and up and up, and slowly we started to produce results and here and there. And I think it was just like these moments that people, that other athletes kind of, when they put Canada on the map, that instilled belief in like the other athletes, like, okay, we can do this. You know, we're not that far off. We're a winter sport country. You don't think of beach volleyball when you think of Canada, but you know, we're here, and like, we want to make some noise. And it's been really special to kind of see how everyone has kind of helped collectively do that.
Yeah.
But I think it's been really special for Sarah and I to kind of say that we've kind of led that movement a little bit in the last couple of years, and hopefully we can continue and just grow the sport.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm getting like a pretty up close view of it with how much work I do with the college game in the U.S. Because rosters are just full of Canadian girls now. And like last year, I watched Nicole and Megan play like more matches than I can even count. But then there's just like girls everywhere on like all these rosters. They're like, yep, I'm playing for Canada in the off season and getting trained in the U.S. like college. Yeah. So like I can see the impact. Like, it's huge.
I love that.
It's fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think that is important in itself. Like, having an NCAA SAN program, that will help grow the sport too, and just to give, you know, opportunities for Canadians and other foreigners as well. Like, to give them that opportunity to be able to do something that was never around when we were here. Like, we never did beach volleyball year round when we first started.
Yeah.
So to have that opportunity, I think, is amazing for the game.
Yeah. Because you mentioned it's like, it is tough to handle that emotional roller coaster of like winning world champs, and then you got to be back on the road and playing another. But you mentioned like having that high of winning world champs, and that how tough it is to manage the emotions, and that you're talking about how that's just one moment. Does seeing the impact that you and Sarah have made, does that make that, like, when you went to reflect back on it, did that make that transition from the high world champs to kind of coming back down, and just seeing like how much that one moment did lead to like such a huge ripple effect back in Canada?
Totally. Yeah, 100%. I think you nailed it. I think it helped put things into perspective a little bit when we were feeling so low, you know, with a result that we were disappointed with, when we were kind of going through that wave of emotions, to just still see what we had done. Like, it goes beyond just like a week after week after week result. Like, we want to leave a legacy for the sport, for ourselves. And I think that's what we kind of like usually have to come back to, because when you're in the thick of it, it's so easy to just like get carried away with the results and like with the performance, and like without realizing, you know, we're still making an impact. And that is ultimately what we want to do.
Yeah. And I know that on the one hand, it's probably super cool if you were to look back and be like, wow, like, 2016 Melissa, like, could probably maybe imagine that you'd be a world champ. But I think it's also equally as cool that, to look back like at you 3 years ago, like how cool would it be if I was pissed at a 5th at Stade? Like,
Yeah.
like that's really cool.
I
I think
know.
that shows like just how far you've come as well, like just as much as winning world champs, that you're mad that you, at a 5th at a major.
I know.
That's
I know.
huge.
It's crazy to just see that like evolution of our own expectations and standards. And like from the first year that we started playing together as a team to now, like, yeah, they change. We expect more from ourselves. We have different goals, and it's been pretty crazy. But you're right. I think we do have to just constantly go back to like, okay, what would 16-year-old Melissa be thinking about where you are right now?
Yeah.
Like, think about that. Think about that
totally.
impact. And I remember when I was getting these little messages from girls and stuff, if I could just impact one of those girls and be a role model for one of those girls, I would be happy. The same way that, honestly, like Sarah had impacted me growing up.
Yeah.
She was a big role model for myself back in Canada. And if I could do that for another girl, the way that Sarah did it for me, then, I know I'm doing my job right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's clear that you guys are doing your jobs right.
I appreciate that. We're trying.
Yeah, what did the off season look like for you guys? Because I mean, you had just like one of the most brilliant years. I mean, you guys, Anders and Christian and Oleg and Krasilnikov, like you three, like had ridiculously good years. Like, what is it? Do you celebrate a little bit? Do you take some rest?
Oh my gosh, both. We finished our season with Hawaii. Actually, that was our last tournament of the season, and that was a great.
Ended on a win.
We ended on a win, which was I think it just kind of was a great bookmark for the whole season. Just
Totally.
like to be able to finish on a win, you can really appreciate everything you accomplished. I think it would have been bittersweet if we, finished on like a disappointing result. I don't know if you would really be able to look back on the season and feel like the same emotions.
Right.
And so to be able to go into our off season off of that win was so special. We did have our own little celebrations, and then we spent the next 4 months off of volleyball.
Yeah.
And away from each other, honestly, for a few months.
That's necessary sometimes.
Totally.
Actually, I'm already sick of Trevor. We haven't even left yet. Problem is, me and him hang out in the off season. That's the biggest problem.
That's the issue. Yeah. No, I went back home to Toronto to visit my family, which was perfect. It was for the holidays. Was there for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, and then Sarah was out here, obviously, with her husband, and so we had some like much needed time away from the sport and just back to kind of a different type of reality, which is so needed. It's just like a reality check. Just remove yourself from this. It's a small world that we live in.
Very.
And so remove yourself a little bit from that.
Yeah.
And then we were still obviously training and active in the gym, and that's like was really our focus in the off season, was to really build a lot of strength and foundation in the gym. That's what we did for 3 months, and then January I moved out here, and it's been like pretty crazy training out here.
Yeah.
It's honestly the best place to.
It's been nice too.
train.
Like we've had some winters where for me, I hate the cold, so I'm like fully wearing gloves and sand socks and stuff, and it's been like perfect every day. I need to knock on wood. I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah.
But it's been so nice.
Gorgeous.
Like 75 or 70 degrees at practice every day.
And it didn't rain much this winter either. Like a couple of years ago, it rained like almost every day in February.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, why am I paying this much money to live out here?
Right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. No, I know.
But if I pay more rent, then the weather's supposed to be better.
It's a sun tax, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, it's been a really great off season and preseason. So I mean, we're hoping for just another great season.
Yeah. Is there you had a really good 2018 season, but maybe not quite as consistently high as 2019 was.
Yeah.
What do you think was the difference between? Because I mean, you're on the younger side, so I think you probably are able to make bigger leaps and bounds than maybe Sarah would be. But what do you think it was about like the difference between 2018 and 2019 that like everything just came together like perfectly?
Yeah, I think a couple things. 2018 was actually a really disappointing season for us. We had come off 2017, our first season together, and it was really successful.
Yeah.
Our goal for that season was to be ranked in the top 10, and we finished number 2 in the world. And like I think it really surpassed our expectations, and we surprised ourselves at how quickly we kind of gelled and how quickly we kind of started to produce these results. And so we had our expectations went from here to like here, and then on the podcast they can't see my hands, but like from low to high. And
well, they can look at the video.
Yeah, watch the video. Yeah. And so then I think we didn't go in with the right mindset, I think, in 2018, because we didn't really know how to handle everything that was happening. It was all happening so fast. And like all of a sudden we had these targets on our back, and we had both kind of come into our partnership in different roles. And like, I didn't really know what to expect for myself because I'd never been at this level and playing with someone like Sarah. And it was honestly a test for me to see if I could like step up to the plate and see if I could fill these shoes that I was going to need to fill. And so 2017 was, honeymoon. And then 2018 hits, and, you know, people are coming after you. Like, again, it's kind of like a lose-lose. Everyone's going to go their hardest against you. They have nothing to lose against you. And so you have to be on all the time. And we were still learning. We were still in that transition period while having like these new standards and expectations that we expected from ourselves, but also everyone else was kind of expecting from us. And I don't think we handled it very well, honestly. It was a bit of a roller coaster. We did win some tournaments that season. You know, we won the Commonwealth Games that year. We won Stade. We won China. And then we had some like really disappointing results where a couple 17ths and just uncharacteristic. And it was literally a huge roller coaster. We ended up finishing the season. We looked back. We sat down at the end of the year and looked back at what we had accomplished. And it was a lot better than how it felt. We felt like we really dropped the ball, but when we looked back at our results, we were like, you know what, we weren't far off of what our goals were for the season anyway. So there's still a lot to be proud of, and I think what we took from that was everything that we wanted to work on and to improve on, but also a little bit of perspective, you know, like, again, like when you're in it, you can be so hard on yourself and you don't recognize what you're accomplishing along the way. And when you reflect back on the season and we're like, hey, you know what, maybe we were too hard on ourselves. Like, yeah, we got a couple disappointing results, but look at everything that we did. And so we kind of took that mindset into this last season in 2019, which was probably our best season. And which, again, it wasn't an easy season either. Like, honestly, heading into World Champs, we weren't really feeling our best. We had just come off of a couple not great results in Ostrava and in Warsaw. And we weren't playing super clean ball. And even in the World Champs, like even in pool play, like they were gnarly, gritty games in our pool. Like they were close. These teams, we easily could have lost them. And even like some games in our playoffs, we easily could have lost too, but we really, really wanted it. Like we really were working hard and we were gritty and we were resilient. And I think the fact that we had our backs up against the wall and we still kind of overcame those throughout that week is why we won. I think we proved to ourselves and to each other that we were in it and like we wanted this really bad. And so I think that's what like the 2019 season was just like full on grit and just resilience and perseverance, just like all heart. Like we really wanted it. And it was like that for every season. For every tournament. Like it wasn't easy. Like nothing really came easy. But we just worked for it. And I think, we're going to go into this upcoming season with that kind of same mentality because we had the experience of finishing a really great season and not really knowing what to do. And like our expectations are so high now, but how do we kind of keep up with that? And so we know what not to do. And now we kind of have a better mentality heading into this season. So
I feel like a few times I've caught myself at the end of the season saying, damn, if you could just give me 4 or 5 points that I could spread out throughout the year, I could turn that season into a great season, from good to great. And I think that that grittiness gets you those extra 5 points that turns a season into an amazing season rather than just a good one, you know?
Oh, I really like that. Interesting. 4 or 5 points.
Yeah, like
I'm taking a grit. I'm like, all right, turn to grit. Grit up this year. Come on.
Are there any games that stick out to you that you wish? Like last season?
Well, I got a lot of weird stuff in my head.
Just take one last punch.
First of all, I already talked about that swing against Canada.
Wait.
I didn't put the match point away against Canada to get out of pool play. And then I won the match in Vienna and punched the. We've already talked about it a bunch, so our fans know. And then we missed a few 5-stars because of it, and then our Americans caught up and like passed us for Olympic rankings. So now we're all like even. And I'm like, all right, time to grit up.
Grit up.
But not be too aggressive.
I think that's a new chalkboard quote. Grit up.
Grit up.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
What's going on?
I love it.
We'll put that one up after the episode.
So I got a few of those. A few like points here and there. Krasilnikov and Stoyanovsky in Vegas. Match point. I had a trickler, and it hit the top, but then hit the top again, and he laid out one-handed, got set off the net, falling down, he hit it, and it trickled back at me. Like I had dropped, I'm like ready. He's falling backwards, and he trickles it back for a bronze medal in the 4-star.
Still one of like the toughest passes I've ever seen someone make. I mean, this thing trickled,
it hit the tape twice.
It was landing within 2 feet of the net. Like
he was crawling,
and I mean, just like one knuckle.
Grit. That was some grit by.
He gritted me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got a few of those points, but I feel like I'm saving them up. You know.
Yeah.
I got a few of those coming my. Although at World Champs we came back 14-11, but they were all clean points. So.
You know, put those in your file folder, honestly, and like you'll reach for those when you need them.
Yeah,
those are memories that will teach you, and those will be very valuable when you need them.
Yeah.
I mean, your semifinal at World Champs. Talk about grit.
Oh my God. I still can't believe that was by far one of the hardest games we both ever had to play.
Yeah.
Who was it against?
It was against Switzerland.
Huberly
and they're some of my closest friends. And I knew even going into that game that this was going to be one of the hardest games we'd ever have to play. And they showed up. Their backs were against the wall. And we were up 14-10 in the third set.
Oh, dang.
And they tied it at 14-all. And then they went up at 17-16. And we...
Gritted up.
I was shaking after that game. I can't even believe that. I think I blacked out. I still don't remember a couple points, but that was gnarly. Dude. That was insane. Yeah.
So crazy. Hamburg was nuts. Like driving up and you're driving and you usually go the long way around the block in the van. And the line was, because I played in the men's semifinal and I believe I was warming up while you guys were playing in your final. So like I'm driving up and the line's freaking I'm driving for like a whole minute and the line's still going around the block.
Awesome.
Insane.
That's so cool.
They maxed out the stadium and they had like seats that were closed off. They had to open those up.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. I've never seen anything like it.
And we're warming up and just hearing like you guys had a nuts final and everyone's going nuts. And I'm like warming up like damn, like, I'm about to go into the gladiator pit right here.
Awesome. That's exactly what it is. Yeah,
it was dope.
It was unreal.
Yeah,
like the energy. Hamburg shows up every single time.
That was a cool crowd.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're going back.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. They're a volleyball crowd. They love it. They appreciate it. Yeah. And I think we really feel it when we're on the court, too. Yeah. When you have a crowd that's into it, every rally is like oohs and ahs, and they're like singing along to all the songs. Like, it's just a good time.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's like such a fun
That's
atmosphere.
the loudest I've ever heard. We had a really long rally against Russia, and I don't even think they cared who was on the match, but it was so loud. I remember switching sides, and I was like, definitely the loudest I've ever heard. Like, even as a spectator, I've never heard an arena this loud. Because it was pretty small. It's like a tennis arena.
Yeah.
And everyone was just going insane. I was like, this is what it's all about right here.
That's beach volleyball.
Then we lost the match, but...
well, whatever, it's the memories,
No,
man.
totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Just play. I mean, as a beach volleyball player, like, you want to experience playing in that match. Yeah. Obviously winning it, but just playing in it alone and like... creating that entertaining of an experience for that many fans at once is
100%.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, you kind of do feel a little bit of a responsibility to like put on a show.
Yeah.
Like you want to make it a good game.
You're chasing balls. You're like, this might be like. There's a 5% chance I get this ball. I have to go. I have to go.
Yeah.
Because if I get it, they're gonna light up. Mm-hmm. Even if I, lose the rally.
Totally. Yeah. It gives you energy.
Oh, for sure.
Like I remember, I never normally do this. Like when I'm in a stadium. When they call you on and like everyone like announces you and like the those gas
Smoke,
things go off and stuff, and then you do your like 3 minutes of serve. I never really look into the crowd in the stadium. I'm kind of like, I try and be in the zone and stuff, but like that particular, the finals was the only exception to that rule. And for the first time I like looked up into the crowd and I was like, oh my God, all these people are here to watch this game.
Yeah.
Like,
there's only 4 of us down
there's
there.
there's only 4 of us. Like look at what I'm doing with my life right now. Like I'm in the finals, the World Championship, in front of, I don't know, 15,000 people, and they're here to watch a show.
So cool.
Like, it was the most surreal feeling. Yeah.
And so cool because like there were that many people there, and Germany wasn't in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. It was an all North American final.
Yeah.
We played both German teams, actually. We scored because we played both German teams in the tournament.
Yeah.
And then we went to the semifinals, so we got to play in the stadium like 4 times. 4 or 5
Unreal.
times.
That's sick.
How was it though playing against the German teams? Were they like visibly rooting against you, or were they like respect? Okay.
No, they were definitely rooting against
Yeah,
us. But that's
standard.
expected. Like, I don't mind that.
Yeah.
I like
And
playing to the
Trevor
crowd.
thrives off of that.
Probably
you
better
bet.
for Trevor, yeah.
Yeah.
We had Tolly Vickler in pool play and lost. So we got that out of our system. And then we beat Flugen and Ehlers. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so we got one of them, let one of them win.
Yeah.
We're still crowd favorites.
Yeah. You had a great season last year too, hey. I know it probably doesn't feel like it, but like...
Yeah, it was good. I mean, anything was good compared to the year before.
Yeah.
I didn't play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was all good.
You made an interesting post the other day about you've only played on like Olympic qualification seasons.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know. I remember
What a cool stat.
after 2016, I was like me and Hayden, I was like, man, I'm just stoked to like go play World Tour next year and like not be in this crazy Olympic stress. I think I stressed out too much last time. I was like hating the other American teams, you know, like but then I didn't get even one match outside of it. It's kind of crazy.
That's actually wild, and something I'll never be able to understand or like really be able to relate to is the internal competition for Olympic qualification.
Right.
Because I mean, as of now, we don't really have a super
You
deep
never
pool.
know.
I know
Canada's getting deep.
Oh yeah,
quick.
we're getting deep, but like
Yeah.
the last couple Olympic qualifications, there's usually always been pretty obvious. But like USA, Brazil, Germany. I think that's the majority of
Pretty much
it. Yeah. You guys have like really tough internal battles, which adds like a whole other level to this.
It's tough to swallow when you qualify and there's like other teams going that qualify behind you, but you got that spot. It's like, should I be mad about that? No, but you got to be grateful that you're playing for such a good country.
Yeah, it makes you better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to be that third team again.
Can't do that.
No, come on.
Not this year, no.
I'm about to grit up real hard.
Grit up.
Mel, I am just like so curious for in that semifinal, like 17-16, like what are, because I mean, I feel like every player has done something similar on whatever scale. Like even, a guy playing double B has like, he's like in his double B championship and he like had 14-10 lead or whatever it may be, like went down, now he's back in serve receive and like with a chance to lose the match. Like as a player, like what are you thinking in that moment? Because in my head, I'm just thinking like, miss it, serve Sarah, miss it, oh hell. I got something.
Don't serve me. Yeah. No. It's really interesting because at 17-16 I was a lot more calm and kind of composed than I was at 13-14 and 14-14.
Okay.
14-14 was a really pivotal moment for Sarah and I because I turned to her. They had gotten like 3 straight aces. Like it wasn't even like rallies. Like she like aced down the sideline, aced down the seam, and then like it was like
tough.
Wow. Like the 3 points went by like this.
Yeah.
Like there was no time to think about anything.
Yeah.
And at 14-14, I looked at Sarah and I was like, oh my God, I'm shitting my pants right now. Like full on said it to Sarah. Like, and I think having said that is kind of also why we were able to kind of win because it brought us closer together and she was kind of able to see where I was mentally and she was able to kind of like relate to me and be like, you know what, I'm a little nervous too.
Right.
This is not ideal.
Instead of trying to fake it and deny it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're like in our head like, no, I'm not nervous at all. But then you're like, your real conscience is like, well, then what's this feeling in your
Yeah.
stomach?
Yeah, you gotta
Instead of
own
just
that.
yeah, owning it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Totally. Like, vulnerability is a beautiful thing, and it's so necessary in beach volleyball
Yeah.
because we're out there and we're an open book. Our
Yeah.
weaknesses are exposed, and
Yeah.
there's no one else to come in for you. Like, you got to figure it out, just you and your partner.
Yeah.
So in that moment, when you like express that vulnerability to your partner, and she shows up for you, and she's like, you know what, me too. Like, she relates to you, but she's like, but you've got this. Like,
Yeah.
I remember she turned to me and she said, or I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen this next play. I'm gonna pass you up for 2 or something like that. And she's like, you know what? They're probably gonna serve you. You're gonna pass up. I'm gonna set you, and you're gonna side out because that's what you can do.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, oh wow, she's really confident in me. Okay, all right, step up to the plate, Mal. And so like that was like a turning point for us to like grit up. And and even though like it was like back and forth still for a while, and to a point where they had match point, I was never really nervous that we were going to lose it after that point. At 14-14, I was like, oh my God, I just lost the game. Like, it's over, Sarah. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But then at like 17-16, I wasn't worried. I was like, no, I'm not worried because I
Yeah.
know that like we're going to work it out.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to be able to turn this point. We're going to side out, and it's going to be ours. And that's exactly what happened 2 points later.
Crazy.
Which was gnarly. But I think like what that taught me is just like be open to those feelings that you have. If you're not feeling great, if you're feeling nervous, if you're scared, if you're not confident in your abilities, express that and like acknowledge them. Don't try and hide them. Because they happen to even the best of us. Like, they happen to everybody at very important moments in your career.
Yeah.
And if you try and suppress it, I don't think it's smart. I don't think you will get the outcome that you want.
Yeah. Do you think that helped you and Sarah have a really good final too? Just like getting through it. Like, well, if we can get through that,
Yes.
we can get through anything.
Yes, 100%. I think, I can't speak for Sarah, but going into the finals, I felt a lot more free. Like, I just felt a lot more just at ease and composed and confident with like our team and our abilities and just with the flow of the game. I think the semifinals were insane and they were gnarly. And like after winning that game, I felt really confident that we were going to win it all because that game pushed us into like super uncomfortable places that we never really wanted to go to. And the fact that we were able to experience that before the finals and we were able to kind of work through that before the finals, I think put us in a really good headspace. Because we even went down in the finals like 7-2 or 6-2 in the first set. Like, we did not have a good start.
Yeah.
But I wasn't ever really worried.
Right.
And then like we regained the lead. Like, it was another roller coaster. Like, it was just a roller coaster of a week.
Yeah.
But again, I wasn't really worried. And like, we knew like it really solidified our partnership, which I can't speak enough for the importance of that. Like really, really investing in your partnership and your relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's so valuable to look at a situation and just know that you've been there before. And I think that's where, all the tournaments that you guys play comes in so handy, like 11-14. You've been there before and like you can win because you beat like Andre and George were playing really good volleyball at the time too. And like 14-10 going down, like now you can come back. I feel like that's super valuable, especially coming into like the year that both of you guys are heading into.
Yeah. Yeah. No, those are lessons that will...
I feel like you see that a lot too, and just in sports in general, where the team who wins the championship has like this crazy battle where it's just backs are against the wall, like in the semis or the quarters or something. Basketball, you see it all the time, like Toronto last year, right? They
Represent.
had the bounce,
Big year for you.
the double bounce, right, against Philly. That Kawhi hit at the buzzer.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it went in.
Yeah.
They would have lost that game, and then they turn around and won it all.
It's like that magic that's like, I feel like honestly there's a little bit of magic that happens to like accomplish something of that grandeur. And so I think when you have that little spark, it like something else like shines.
It like binds the team a little more. Like we made it through that, and then the team's just like, all right, now we're like moving as a unit for sure. Just like takes all the doubt out.
Yeah.
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 Sports.
Yeah.
Gotta love them.
Good adversity.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got to get to this other topic. It's super interesting.
Okay.
You've been busy. I believe it started last year, but the IBVPA. I always get confused with the acronyms. The International Beach Volleyball Players Association was started. And you can tell us more about it. What is your position? I forgot.
I know. It's confusing. I'm the director of public relations.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. I know. So it actually started in 2017. And I think it came of a place of need and kind of urgency as well. Like,
I agree, for sure.
Our sport, 2017, and even leading up to that, it was really uncertain. There was a lot of instability, and there was a lot of uncertainty. And I think as athletes, we felt like we didn't have any control or any power. Like these decisions and these movements were happening without any of us really having a say or having a voice, but it 100% directly impacted us. Yeah. And so we felt we were at a loss. Like this is our livelihood.
Getting dragged along without any say.
Exactly. Yeah. And so most other professional sports, they have players associations. I mean, they also have a lot more money and resources to kind of help start and solidify that, but we don't. And so it was really Madeleine Meppeling from the Netherlands and Anouk Verger-Depré from Switzerland who have spearheaded this like full on, and they really put their heart into it. I know that in the past we had player reps and we had somewhat of a players association, but it never really stuck. Like people didn't really buy into it or just really put the time and the effort into really creating something substantial that benefited everybody and especially the sport. And so ultimately the IBVPA is here to be a voice of the athletes, and not just like main draw athletes, but all the beach volleyball players in the world. And we're here to stand up for ourselves and to speak our truth, but also to work collectively with all the stakeholders involved, the FIVB, all the promoters and the sponsors. We're not here to like fight. We're here to just show them that we care, we're here, and we have a voice, and we need strength in numbers. And I think that's what's so important about the association, is that as players, we collectively work to grow the sport. And that's what ultimately it's about, and which is really tricky in a sport like beach volleyball, because it's essentially a sport made up of teams of teams of teams of teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
they're
everybody
spread out literally throughout the world.
Exactly. And everybody has their own agenda. Like everybody has their own priorities. You have main draw teams, you have Olympic teams, you have qualification teams, and the priorities are all different. They have different goals. And so it's hard to get everyone on the same page. Yeah. But if we can just come together and we have one common goal, which is the fact that we love this sport. This is our livelihood. This is what we chose to do for our lives. And we want to see this sustainable sport in the future for not just us, but just for like generations to come. If we can all kind of agree that that is our end goal, then I think we're in a good spot. I think that's where kind of the IBVPA came from. And so it started a couple years ago. And so there's 7 of us on the board, I believe. There's Madeleine, Anouk, myself, Robert Mewson from the Netherlands. Okay. He's the director of finance. And then we have Barbara Satias, and she is the director of strategy and development. And then Anders Mol, and he is the director of digital media and like communications and stuff.
Good choice.
Yeah, he's on it.
Yeah.
And so we all kind of volunteer our time, our effort, and we've put in our own dollars to just kind of like get things going. Yeah. And I don't think it's actually really recognized how much effort these people put in behind the scenes,
for sure.
How much time there is. Because at the end of the day, it is volunteer. We're still athletes, and that's still our first priority. Yeah. And so it's hard to kind of manage our training responsibilities and like responsibilities outside of that as well, and try and like develop this association from the grassroots ground up level. Yeah. But there's a need for it. And I think we've got some really great feedback, and there's still ways to go. Like we really just want to get some exposure out there and just let it be known what we're trying to do. Yeah. And that we're here for the good of the players, and we're just really a united front.
I think it's going to be really valuable to the FIVB alone, just to hear our opinion. You know, I feel like they're making so many decisions without really understanding how we feel and how it affects us, because like you said earlier, it affects everybody differently. So whatever they see and their perspective is, that's what they think we feel, you know? And then they come out with, let's say, the star system, and then they get all this bad feedback. Like, well, I don't know, we didn't exactly talk to you guys collectively. We had like one player rep or something. Yeah. And that one player rep can't possibly know how it's going to affect all the separate countries. Yeah.
One player can't represent like 90 countries.
Right, yeah.
Come on.
Right. I mean, I'm sure there was a few more players, but I don't know exactly how it works. But
you're right.
It's super important. And it's not just like to be like, oh, FIVB's doing everything wrong. It's like, here's like, we have a lot of minds out here and a lot of people that are affected by this sport and everyone wants to see it grow. Let's all throw in our input and knowledge and experiences and information and then obviously organize it, which is what the IBVPA.
It's such a mouthful. It's such a mouthful.
IBVPA.
There you go.
Is all about. And no, I think it's a great idea.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, and you're right. Like, I think there was like this athletes, I forget the name of it. It wasn't the association. It was just like, they were essentially athlete reps, but they were made up of retired athletes. Yeah. And so once you're kind of removed from it, you don't really quite have the same perspective. And
it's a lot different too. Like since when we first came on tour and now, it's completely different.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
The full system has changed.
It's completely changed. Yeah. And I think they weren't really getting the right perspective. Yeah. Like you said, when we first started, the sport, you know, there was a time when it was thriving. Like we would have like 8 to 9 Grand Slams in a season,
nice.
Right? Like it was sweet, and like the prize money was the prize money was great, and like you were swimming.
Better than a 5-star now.
Oh yeah.
And we had 9 of them.
Yeah. And then they started to dwindle, and then as athletes, you're like, well, this is my life. Like this is my job. I can't just like sit back and watch this happen. And so I think it was really important, like you said, to kind of have our voices now of players that are currently playing and just present them with ideas. Because like you said, they don't really know. And they've been really receptive to kind of the ideas we put forth. And, you know, we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes, like with our player agreements. You know, for myself, I never read that. You know how long it was? And you would sign it and you'd like give your rights away. Like you had no idea what you were signing. How many players actually read that?
Yeah.
Not many.
I remember we had that one meeting in Poland. And, someone asked that question, and nobody raised their hand.
No one.
Who read their player agreement?
Yeah.
And everyone's like,
who read the 15-page fine print?
He's like, well, you signed away your rights, your image, your everything.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah.
Turns out you donated all your prize money back to the tour.
Which is very valuable.
Yeah, exactly. And so like we've done a lot of work to kind of completely revamp the players agreement so we're not like on the hook for anything, and like it really favors and benefits the players, and we're really working to kind of start a new tour, which we've worked pretty much hand in hand with the FIVB, so to kind of move away from that 5-star situation, because they kind of presented that and it didn't really favor the players, and so they've been really receptive, and I think the IBVPA is making a lot of good moves and good decisions to benefit everyone, and the sport itself. And I think it can be really hard as an athlete myself to think about the perspective and the positions of other players. You know, like I'm a main draw player. I've been really successful in the sport, and what my priorities are, they're different than a younger developing player that's struggling to get through the qualifications, that's struggling to get into the main draw. So when, you know, the IBVPA is asking for opinions and they're asking for surveys, my initial reaction would be like, yes, let's go for this option because it would benefit me because I'm a main draw player, rather than, wait, what about what's best for the sport? And so I think it's like, you got to catch yourself too. You got to kind of, what we do is kind of selfish. What we, like, the pursuit of our own glory and like our professional life, and being a beach volleyball player or a professional athlete in general.
Anyone with a job, though, you know.
Yeah. You're in it for yourself.
You're working overtime because you want to make that money.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So sometimes you just gotta like step back and recognize what you're doing it for.
Yeah. How do like, I'm sure there's been a good amount of players coming on board, but how does it work in terms of new players joining the group and becoming a part of it?
It's honestly really simple. There's this sign up form on the website. We have a really great website. It's revamped, it's official, and it's live. and you just kind of apply. You send in this application, and if you're a current player, you will not get turned down. There's no like, there's no.
You're in.
Yeah, you're in.
Yeah.
You're a player. It's an association. We're inclusive. And then there is a membership fee of $100, and once you're kind of accepted, you are involved in all the decision-making processes. So we constantly send out surveys and questionnaires, and we accept and are very receptive to all questions, concerns. And once we get, if we see a common theme, we'll kind of put it out to everyone. Okay, so like, what do you think about this? And so one of the things was about this new tour, like, how should the point breakdown be? How should the prize money breakdown be? Should it favor the top and then like have a bigger gap for the bottom results, or stuff like that? Or do we still want a 5-star system? Do we want a 3-star system? How do we want to do Olympic qualification points moving forward? How do we want our Olympic qualification season to look like? Do we want it to be 2 seasons? Do we want it to be 1? Like all these different questions that directly impacts us, we have the power to kind of make the change.
Yeah.
So it's so easy to just kind of sign up. You just go to our website and then just sign up, and then you're going to be a part of like making change and growing the sport.
Yeah.
There you go, people. If you're a player, you want to be on the World Tour, sign up.
That's right. And we also
go.
have a page for supporters, because we found that a lot of people were like, oh, we love this. We're not a beach volleyball player, but we love beach volleyball. Like, how can we support? So we have a supporter page where you can also help and contribute and donate it if you feel like it's right. And so that also helps kind of offset some costs. We have a lawyer that works for us that's on the that's on the board as well, and he does it pro bono, and he's amazing.
That's awesome.
And so he kind of helps us with all the legal work. And so when we go and we present these things to the boards of the FIVB and whatnot, like, we're not just random players talking out of our ass.
Showing up with an essay.
Yeah.
Hey, I wrote this.
Here's my intro, my thesis.
Yeah.
No, we've got a lawyer who's helping us.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of the work that we've done, and it's only up from here.
Love it.
What I'm sure it's not finalized, or I mean, maybe you can't even talk about it, but like, what is the new tour structure? Because the star system seems to be not the most popular of moves.
Yeah.
But what does it kind of look like?
We are making a little bit of a push away from the star system. Instead of 5, we're kind of going down to 3.
Okay.
And so it's kind of, and I guess in layman terms, it'll be like this kind of senior division, like the more developed, then intermediate, and then essentially the 5-star would be the senior, then the 3-star would be the intermediate,
series,
right?
Kind of.
Yeah, the qualifying series,
right.
and then the 1-star would be like for exposure, for developmental, for experience for those young players coming up, and then I mean, there are some minor details that you would get once you join the IBVPA, and we're not doing it to be like, you can't learn this information. It's out there, it's public, and it will be eventually, but we want it to be we want to encourage people to join the IBVPA and have an impact on the decisions, and also you get kind of inside access to information as well beforehand. So just extra incentive to come on over.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Love it.
It'd be funny if we see like a membership spike, like direct SANDCAST will
That'd be
take
great.
the kickbacks.
Hey, let's
Sign
do
up
that,
with the
people.
code SANDCAST.
Yeah.
That'll make us look good.
You'll get $10
Oh,
off.
we get a kickback, yeah.
Yeah.
That would defeat this.
Yeah.
You mentioned that like 2018, like you guys came in with that target on your back because you guys had a great 2017. Now that you've had 2019, I'm sure 2020, like you're coming in as number 1 ranked team in the world. I think I haven't double checked the points, but I would think you are.
Yeah.
Like, does it change anything having already, like, because I'm sure you guys by the end of the year like had that target on your back. Like, are you used to it now? Is 2017 going to be different or 2020 different from 2017, like that transition?
Yes, they will be different. I think we're absolutely going to use that experience that we had and we didn't really capitalize on or didn't really know how to deal with. We're going to use that to kind of help us and guide us through this season. I think we're very much in a really great headspace, and we recognize our position and how privileged we are to be here. You know, there was a time in our off season we had a couple media days for the Olympics, and we were running all over the place. We were like hitting up all these different stations, and it was just crazy. And we were like, oh my God. And you would see some other athletes like not really getting called everywhere. And you kind of sit back and you're like, this is a good spot to be in. This is where we want to be. We don't like, we're not going to complain about that. We're not like, pressure is a privilege. Yeah. And so we are really using that to our benefit. And I think what we're really trying to focus on is not just the Olympics, but everything leading up to that. We really want to be present in the moment, because we're fortunate as a sport to kind of have 8 tournaments before the Olympics, and like little goals along the way to kind of lead up to that, rather than there are some sports that have like one tournament and then it's the Olympics. So it's kind of really hard to like not have the Olympics in your mind. And I think we have a lot that we really want to work on, a lot that we need to improve on. And we also have goals. We want to improve on our Olympic ranking. We want to make sure that heading into the Olympics, we're in the best spot possible. Right. Which really makes it easy.
I didn't even think about that, actually. Yeah, you have your spot seed. I was like, oh, they don't have to do anything. But
I was wondering
you want a good seed going
100%.
For sure.
So, yeah, we have qualified, and that's like a nice check, but we also want a good seed. We want to work on that Olympic ranking. So it's not like we go into these tournaments like, oh, this is an Olympic qualification event. It doesn't matter for us because we've already qualified. No, it matters more. We want to work on our Olympic seeding.
If you're going for gold, it's I mean that's a huge piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely.
Sure. You do not want to draw the 1 seed in the quarterfinal.
Exactly. So we're very driven and we're very focused at the moment, and we're not getting too carried away. We're enjoying the process.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. I'm checking the time. I know we've kept you here for a while.
Love it. This is such a cozy. Look at us. We're in our sweatpants and we're just chilling. No, I love this.
We're just chatting. You're like one of my favorite people to talk to.
Stop it. Oh my God, you're going to make me blush. I know you probably say that to everybody.
It's an easy combo for sure. We can go all day talking volley.
But one team that you saw a lot that as a fan, like I loved watching over and over again, which I'm sure as a player you love playing, was your guys, like, I don't want to say rivalry because like you're just like so friendly with everybody, but April and Alex, you guys just had so many awesome matches with them that like it had to be fun. Like it was just like such a battle every time.
God. It was, and the amount of times we played them was crazy. I think by the end of the season we'd played each other like 10 or 11 times. Yeah. And it was very even keel. Like there wasn't like one team that dominated over the other, which was really exciting. Yeah. And I think it has become a rivalry, not because of us, but I think the media love to kind of pin us against each other, and just, Canada versus USA, they love to pin us against each other. Yeah. So I think it was just a natural like headline grabber. But they're a great team to play. Yeah. They're phenomenal. And they're so much fun. It's always a battle against them. I mean, I think most of our games have gone 3 or whatnot. Like it's just good volleyball, and that's kind of like all you can ask for. And it is really surreal, actually. I remember I forget which tournament it was. I reflected and I was like, these girls on the court with me are absolute beasts. We've got Sarah Pavin, we've got April Ross, and we've got Alex Kleiman, and there's little old me in the corner, like just cruising. What am I doing there? Yeah, just jumps a little bit higher, Melissa. Yeah. No, there's some serious talent, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah. Yeah.
And you mentioned those 3 players. Like April's one of the best of all time, and I mean Sarah is probably the best Canadian beach player of all time at the moment. And then
she's pretty damn good indoor too.
Yeah. Right? She was one of the best in the world indoor. Yeah. Yeah. Phenomenal.
And so like do you have that conversation with yourself where you know that you belong out there?
Great question. I have battled with imposter syndrome for a long time, honestly, and especially when I first started with Sarah. I was like, I don't know if I belong here. Like, I don't know if I belong, and like have earned this privilege of playing with Sarah. And I've always kind of grown up as the beach volleyball player, like back in Canada and back in Toronto, and who my dad is. And, my dad has Olympic experience, and he was an Olympic coach and brought back a bronze medal at the 1996 Atlanta Olympics. So growing up, like the Olympic journey was always in my childhood. And so when I got that opportunity to kind of go pro and like fill those shoes, I was like, do I belong here? And as the game kind of has continued and grown, I still kind of question that. And the game has grown immensely, and like obviously physically, like these girls are very, very big, and like is there space for undersized players, quote unquote, like myself. I know I'm 5'9".
I feel undersized at
Yeah.
6'5".
Right? Right? Yeah. But I think there actually is so much more to beach volleyball, which is why I love it so much, than just size, right? And when I look at some of the best players, the most fun players to watch, the players that excite me to watch, they're undersized players. And you have to be creative in those situations. And I think it makes you a little bit feisty. You have thick skin. You kind of have to brush off the comments like, oh, here's the shorty or whatever. Like, I love it. I love it. Yeah. Like, it's a lot of fun. But I think since winning Worlds, I would say that, yeah, I do belong. I do belong here. But to say that it doesn't creep into my mind, like, was that, like, do I deserve that? Like, did I really do that? Did I do that? Like me, Melissa, undersized, little player. Yeah, I did. I did do it, and I'm going to own it, and I'm going to, like, really love it. But it is tough because these are some players that I grew up watching and idolizing, and, like, it took me a while to kind of realize, no, Carrie Walsh and April Ross, they are not your idols anymore. These are your opponents. Right. And there was a quote someone said to me after I won my very first major series in Porridge a few years back. And it was, you work until your idols become your rivals or something like that. And I feel like that's where I've gotten to, where respect across the board for everybody. Yeah. Like, I respect these women so, so, so much. But I can ball with them, like, and that's what I've been doing. So, it's been a really exciting kind of transition, and it's been really eye-opening for me. Like, I still get giddy sometimes just being in the volleyball world because it's so special and it's small and there's so much talent. Like, the talent is crazy, and I think we all belong there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's a few quotes we got up for our chalkboard.
I know. We have just like Mel's chalkboard now.
I love it.
I'm honored. I love this. This is great.
So good.
Yeah.
So your season opener is in Cancun.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks.
Crazy.
And you're shipping off to Doha tomorrow.
And
then what? Do you know what AVPs that we can see you at this year? I don't know if you and Sarah have looked it over yet.
I mean, I was gonna say one of the silver linings of these tournament cancellations, we can now play in Huntington and Austin. So those will be our first two ones.
Awesome.
Yeah. So you'll see us there for sure.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Great. So we get to see you in the U.S. a couple times.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Awesome.
Totally.
And I'll see you guys both in Cancun.
Hey, baby.
There you go.
Yeah,
you're on spring break, though.
Yeah, spring break.
You're loving it.
Yeah.
A little less pressure for me.
Yeah. Just have the margaritas, all-inclusive resort.
You're living it up.
Write a word or two. And
I hope to not hang out with you.
Yeah.
I hope to be playing. If I'm hanging out with you, having drinks at the pool.
That's right.
It's not good.
We're going to grid up, Trent?
Let's grid up.
Yeah.
That's right.
We'll drink
See you on the podium.
See you on the podium. I love it. I love it.
Go.
I think you got to go pack now, eh?
I do, yeah. Exactly. We got the little baby to sleep. I got to finish packing and then hit the road. Although by the time people are listening to this, I'm going to be in the middle of my tournament.
Yeah.
So tune in, people.
Yeah. Good luck. Try.
Thank you.
So Mel, where can our listeners follow along on your journey?
Yeah, Instagram. It's my horribly long last name, Melissa Humana-Paredes. You can go follow me there. And you know what? I've just kind of started a YouTube channel again.
Oh, there you go.
So a lot of behind the scenes there.
You gotta subscribe to that one.
That's right. Subscribe.
Check it out and subscribe, people.
Hit that bell. That's right. Yeah. Again, it's my name, Melissa Humana-Paredes. Very tricky and long, but I love it. And those places mostly.
Awesome.
Yeah, go check me out.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much
Appreciate
for having
it.
me. I love it.
Heck yeah.
Shoots.